Hello, and thank you for taking time this weekend to join us here on KREM 2 News. I'm Cody Proctor, and this is the KREM 2 News Weekend Review. We know life gets busy, and it can be tough to keep up with all the news. So let's get you updated on some of the headlines from this past week.
Now, litigation is a deterrent for bad behavior. And what we saw at the town hall were people with power believing that they have absolute power, and they don't.
2 months to the day since she was pulled from a Kootenai County Republican Central Committee event, Dr. Teresa Borenpol says her physical injuries have healed.
If folks could feel that comfortable to violate my person with 450 people watching, that's what really lingers.
She's since wondered if she's safe in her community. Monday, Borenpol and her attorney Wendy Olson filed notice of a potential lawsuit in an effort to reclaim rights Borenpol says were stripped violently.
So this is the first step.
The notice of tort claim names Sheriff Bob Norris, 5 members of the security team from Lear Asset Management, KCRCC Chair Brent Regan, and the town hall's MC, Ed Bejarana. Olson says under state law, you must name individuals involved. That doesn't mean they'll all be sued.
Then the county can evaluate your claims, evaluate the conduct, and determine whether or not it wants to try to resolve the claim prior to there being any lawsuit filed.
Kootenai County now has 90 days to respond. Its Board of Commissioners declined to comment. Borenpol says she doesn't want anyone to feel silenced, and the potential lawsuit isn't just about ensuring her own freedom of speech.
My constitutional rights are your constitutional rights, and a violation of anyone's is a violation of everyone's.
Across Washington state, when it comes to youth sports, some school districts are taking a look at their transgender participation policies.
So it's very complicated, it's very tricky. We understand it's a very emotional issue.
State law already says students can participate by the gender they identify. Members of WIAA, the governing body for youth sports, considered 2 proposals. Amendment 8, which called for divisions for girls, for boys, and for transgender students, failed. Amendment 7, limiting participation in girls' sports to students assigned female at birth, came close to moving forward.
It received 31 votes, and it takes 32 to pass. Even if the Amendment 7 or 8 would have passed, we couldn't have implemented it anyway because it wouldn't align with state law.
Superintendent David Vanderyacht says his school district in Linden has seen the conflicts.
We heard very clearly from our female student athletes that competing against athletes who had gone through male puberty felt unfair to them.
And having statewide policies, bans, different categories, all of those things only serve to single out and to stigmatize.
Danny Askini with Gender Justice League says it would harm transgender student athletes.
Our approach is that this should be handled on a case-by-case basis between parents, coaches, and student athletes, and that if there are concerns and difficulties, those can be addressed at the individual and school level.
For the WI's perspective, we have to follow state law.
While the 2 proposals have failed, WIAA knows the debate is not over.
We know this topic isn't going away. We know the conversation is going to continue. We'll continue to dialogue with our membership, so when and if the board needs to make a change, we'll be fully prepared to do that.
53 school administrators took part in this year's vote. WIAA says representatives from across the state consider the amendments, and 60% approval is required for the proposal to pass. In Renton, Natalie Swaby, King 5 News.
Bill Lawrence thought renewing his driver's license would be a piece of cake.
I'll just walk in there like I always do. I never even made appointments in the past. It was just simple.
All right, everybody, come on in. But after he saw the long lines outside some Department of Licensing offices, Bill went online to make an appointment.
Kent, no availability. Seattle, Queen Anne, no availability.
10 different locations within 50 miles of Burien.
It's just impossible right now.
And no luck.
The only way a person could actually avail themselves of every opportunity is probably to stay online all day. Just keep doing it and refresh and doing it and refresh and doing it.
I'm not in the line, I'm just standing there. The DOL offices are swamped right now. With the Real ID deadline on May 7th, people are rushing to get their enhanced licenses. The wait times can be up to 3 hours for walk-ins, and appointments, which open 60 days in advance, are getting snapped up fast.
What is your advice for people who need to make an appointment or are trying to get in immediately, but they can't?
Well, due to some budget reductions, we can't really hire more staff and we can't open any more offices or extend our hours. So we're really encouraging customers who need to be in our office to come in early.
The DOL says if you don't need an enhanced license, renew online. But that's not an option for people like Bill, who's over the age of 70 and has to renew in person.
So this really it puts you in a predicament of possibly driving without a license.
That's exactly what it does.
As we go to break, here's a check of your weekend forecast. Get the latest news, headlines, and weather forecasts on your schedule with KREM 2 Plus. It's our streaming app you can watch on your TV. You can download it for free right now on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. Thank you for watching the KREM 2 News Week in Review. I'm Cody Proctor. It's been a busy week all across the Inland Northwest, so let's help catch you up on some stories you might have missed.
There are no church bells tolling for departed Pope Francis at Gonzaga Prep. Just a windy symphony playing an Easter Monday morning song, heard only by 3 companions at the heart of campus.
A symbol and standard of their values and history and faith.
Alumnus Vincent De Felice created this statue and its triplets in miniature at home in the Holy See in Pope Francis's collection.
It's quite an honor. I had no idea it was taking place.
It started with an unexpected email from the Vatican back in 2013.
It came as a surprise to us.
To Gonzaga Prep employee Kathleen Wilson, a priest looking for artwork featuring Peter Faber, soon to be canonized by Pope Francis. Wilson responded she could do one better, bring a smaller version of this statue to Italy. But first, getting permission to meet the Pope.
And then Jim started harassing the bishop's office. And Bishop...
So it pays to know priest.
And it is no easy task to bring even a scaled down model of this 13-foot statue across the ocean into the arms of the Pope.
The first policeman wasn't going to let us in.
He wasn't going to let us in.
Cue some sweet talking in Italian.
I said, "For il Papa." And he goes, "Oh, okay."
From the second row at St. Peter's Square, the Wilsons hand-delivered the statuette to Pope Francis.
So he kept that statue personally. And now we've been told that it will end up in the Vatican Museum.
Alongside Michelangelo, Da Vinci, enter De Felice.
Like the best masters in the world. And again, I am not near them, but to have the work there is for me it's just an amazing story, really.
Oh my gosh!
No.
Oh my gosh!
He's the guy.
He's the guy. We just got to carry it.
An art piece of pride. Now, Vatican history.
For me, for Gonzaga Prep, for Spokane to know that one of our own created something that was special to Pope Francis.
Shannon Mowdy.
That's pretty cool. I mean, that doesn't happen.
KREM 2 News.
Welcome back to the KREM 2 News Week in Review. Before we get back to this week's headlines, we want to remind you, you can get the latest news and weather forecast anytime you want on KREM 2 Plus. It's our streaming app you can watch on your TV, and best of all, it's free. We hope you'll check it out, but now let's get back to the Week in Review.
All three of these mothers have one thing in common.
I was pregnant and using fentanyl.
I just knew that, we both had meth in our systems and that we needed to get clean.
Their babies were born with drugs in their systems and withdrawal symptoms. It's called neonatal abstinence syndrome, or NAS.
I felt guilty every day. Every day I was crying because of the guilt and shame, and I didn't know really how to ask for help.
Federal records show the number of babies born with NAS across the country is going down. But the King 5 investigators found Washington faces a troubling exception. A recent Washington State University report reveals in 2022, babies born withdrawing from drugs dramatically exceeds the national average by nearly double.
But where I am right now, Spokane, it is dramatically worse.
According to the WSU report, Spokane is at the epicenter of this crisis, labeled as an area of heightened concern. In Spokane County, nearly 3.5 times the number of babies are born with NAS compared to the national average.
And is it concerning?
It is concerning. It's telling me that we have too many families that are not getting the care they need and not getting the support they need.
Why would that be? Why would Washington's, and specifically Spokane's, numbers be so much worse than the national average? The researcher of this WSU report says our homeless problem could be one of those reasons. Research shows substance abuse is more prevalent in homeless populations. Washington ranked 3rd nationwide for homelessness in a 2024 congressional report, trailing only New York and California.
We know that there's a big correlation or strong correlation between having substance use disorders and having mental health issues, being in poverty.
And so what else is there to do other than do drugs? And that just kind of numbs the depression or whatever that people are dealing with being homeless.
Mothers like Erin say it could also be Washington's lax approach to drugs. In 2021, Washington downgraded drug possession to a misdemeanor.
There's not really very many punishments for people doing drugs.
The assistance ends up just allowing them to continue to do drugs, but more comfortably.
As for Spokane, the federal government says it's a cesspool for drug activity. The DEA says it's a central hub for narcotics distribution because of its close proximity to Canada and I-90.
Do you think that Washington is doing enough to help moms and babies in this type of situation?
Probably not.
No.
State leaders say treatment has to be the priority to tackle the state's fentanyl problem. Maddie's Place in Spokane is the only place in the state and one of 4 in the country that provides housing and treatment for mothers and their infants together.
I hope that people will see that this place fills a big need.
Maddie's Place has served as a lifeline for these 3 mothers in various states of recovery.
Oh, you little stink bug. Stinking cute.
There's no resource in the state that provides what we're providing, which is to the mom and the baby during this critical time period, where you're actually licensed to treat the baby, and then at the same time, you're really treating the mom too. This area is where our mom's team is located.
Maddie's Place president and CEO Sean Cross says their model is a success. Since opening, they've served 122 babies, with 95 staying with their parents, rather than going into foster care. He says they're also cheaper than a hospital.
So we're really changing the trajectory of the infant's life and the trajectory of the parent's life.
Despite its success and plans to expand, the organization is facing a crisis.
We are at risk of losing our funding and not having it continued, and so we're at risk of closing.
If Maddie's Place loses its state funding, it could close in 2 months. They're asking the legislature for $2.2 million. It's money that would be added to the governor's already strapped budget. Advocates argue the high number of affected infants means Maddie's Place needs to be a priority.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there who need the same help we did, and there's just not places for it.
We should have alarm bells that are going off, and I don't care what the budget crisis is in the state of Washington. This should be our #1 priority, is dealing with this. We're in a free fall.
Maddie's Place should know their fate by this weekend when the governor finalizes his budget. In the newsroom, I'm Kristen Goodwillie, King 5 News.
My son spent the day before he died with...
Katara Johnson-Jones lost her son Gabriel to fentanyl back in March.
Gabriel was an amazing, smart young man. He fought hard for his recovery. He relapsed a couple of times, but he always got up and started again. He wouldn't quit.
She shared her story Tuesday night at an event hosted by the group Save Our Spokane. Fentanyl's a growing crisis in Spokane County. According to the Spokane Regional Health District's opioid dashboard, more than 200 people died last year due to fentanyl. The same dashboard reports dozens more already died this year. One of those numbers was Johnson Jones's son.
He really cared about being clean. He wanted to make his family proud. Relapsing wasn't something that he wanted to do.
Now she's launching Gabriel's Challenge, a community response to Spokane's fentanyl crisis. Some ways people can get involved include adopting a city block and attending upcoming weekly resource mapping meetings.
At the end of the day, no matter how different and how many differences we have one thing in common, and that's the serial killer in our community named fentanyl. And we can all rally behind that.
Johnson Jones hopes the challenge helps to save lives like Gabriel.
I believe that Gabe, if he could see it right now, he would be extremely happy. And I hope he can and see that I'm doing it, Gabe.
Before we wrap up this edition of the KREM 2 News Week in Review, we have one more story you might have missed this past week.
Hello, I'm Larissa.
I'm Ozzy.
I'm Haley. And we are the owners of Entrees and Encores.
What does it take to create a successful business plan?
Quite a few late nights where I'm going through my speeches.
There's time and there's effort.
I would say getting to spend the time with my friends, Haley and Oz.
The power of friendship certainly helps.
I took a lot of the photos that we used in our packet that you can see right here.
And put it all together with the merging of unique skills, and the perfect recipe is formed.
We've also conducted a SWOT analysis, which stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
3 teenagers going through a Shark Tank type of scenario, coming out with the first place victory in the Washington State Pro Start Invitational.
They came up with the theming of it, the menu, the concept, like they're really opening a business, and then they got to present it to a whole bunch of industry judges.
Larissa, Haley, and Ozzy crafted a 25-page proposal about what it would be like to start their own restaurant. They came up with a dinner and a show concept, and it was so impressive. They soon traveled to Baltimore, Maryland to present their work on a national level.
And I've seen the confidence grow in them so much as we've gone throughout the year. They've put in the work and we're ready to compete. We're ready to win.
With some guidance from teachers like Valkyrie Anderson and mentors like Wild Sage co-owner Garth Hicks, the trio can earn a trophy along with a renewable $1,000 scholarship to Washington State University.
It's amazing because we get to break the stigma that's around Hilliard and around Rogers that we're not very good, that we come from a low-income area, and that whole thing, we get to break that and be like, no, we're proud of who we are and that we are our community.
Whatever happens as the group sets off for this next opportunity, they're already winners. And as for if there's any nerves,
I'm going to be scared either way, so I'm just going to do it scared, and then eventually I won't be scared anymore.
Thank you for joining us for the KREM 2 News Week in Review. Be sure to keep it here for more news and weather updates throughout the weekend. I'm Cody Proctor. Thanks for watching.